Hello, loves. Today I have compiled quite a few good stories. Let's get started. Story: Should I break up with my girlfriend? Hey, so this is complicated, but I will try to keep it simple. I am 27 years old, and about 3 months ago, I met 27 years old a girl and we hit it off right away. For some background, she is one of the first real relationships I ever had, and I am used to being alone and mostly just keeping to myself. I live with my mom and enjoy video games, anime, and all things nerdy, so I'm that type of guy. Needless to say, this is all new to me, and she also has 2 kids and an ex-husband, all of which she was upfront with me about. For the first few months everything was amazing, especially the S word. We were so passionate and I grew to really care for her and her kids, who in retrospect I may have met too early on. Anyway, I got sick recently and she has been going through a lot too planning this party for her and her family. She texted me today saying that she wanted space and is going through a lot, and I assumed that meant I could get out of driving the hour and a half to her house to go to the family party, and sadly, that made me happy. The reason I say sadly that made me happy is because I feel guilty and bad that I was happy I had a chance to bail on that. Anyway, we had a long conversation tonight and I kinda told her I feel like we are rushing and I'm not ready for the commitment of everything due to some of the stuff I said in the first paragraph, how I am used to being a loner homebody. But she has been nothing but amazing and nice to me, and even helped me come out of my shell a bit. Even still, I can't help but think that eventually I will want to break up, because someday she will want to move in together and have me take a big responsibility role with the kids, and I don't know if I will ever be ready for it. I expressed the exact paragraph above pretty much word for word to her, and she will says she wants to stay together and to not worry about the future and live in the moment. I tried to get her to break up with me, I guess, by making it clear I wasn't sure if we were going to last forever and wasn't ready for a long-term commitment. She has kids and other drama. She instead said she loves me and wants us to work out, making me think she is a prize and it would be selfish and I would regret it if we broke up, because the only reason I want to is just so I can go back to gaming all the time and doing whatever the hell I want. And I don't think that's a good enough reason, because overall she really does care about me, and I know for a fact a girl like that is hard to find, because she is amazing, so I may regret it later if I end things. Story: I, 38 am so exhausted, depressed, and beat down from never feeling attractive enough, even to my wife, 38F. How can I beat this feeling? I'm 38 years old, around 175 pounds, and right around 6 feet tall. I run and lift fairly regularly, and eat relatively healthy. I feel like maybe I could work on my midsection a little more, but I'm still in light athletic shape. I feel like I'm pretty average and plain in the face and maybe look a little young for my age. In the last few years I've really invested time and money in skincare and think it has paid off. I get fairly expensive haircuts every month or two to keep looking nice. And yet after all of that I am still so insecure about my appearance. I look in the mirror and I just never like what I see. No matter how much I work out, no matter how well I dress, no matter how much time I spend with different hair and skincare products, I still feel like there's just something about me that's off, and still never good enough. Like I just look a little goofy and just a little out of the ordinary, as if there's a little something unexplainable that puts me into some weird territory. Part of what makes me think this is that I don't feel like there's ever any external cues to let me know that all of my work in taking care of myself is paying off. My wife doesn't pay me that much attention. I never ever get compliments from anyone on how I dress or how much working out has paid off. When I am by myself in public, women never give me a second glance. There's just so much that tells me that I am just not enough when it comes to this. I know that a lot of people will say that attractiveness comes from other things as well. How funny a person is, how charismatic they are, stuff like that. I am feeling fairly confident about that too. I am a little shy and introverted until I get to know someone, but after that I feel fairly sure that I am charming and funny and caring for people. I just don't get it. I wish there was anything at all to tell me that I had some worth in terms of my appearance. Not having anything to go on makes me doubt myself and even hate myself at times. I know that things like this are supposed to come from within, but I feel like if I am only ever telling myself that and no one outside of my own biases ever tells me anything, it's just a delusion on my part. Story: am I overreacting that my boyfriend doesn't propose to me? Me 31 years old and my partner 31 years old are together for 7 years now, and we just bought our very first house last week. We have been together since we were 24 and we are not engaged, and I don't know if he ever want to propose because he's not really talking about it. Even when I ask him we just arguing about it, so I never thought about marriage when I was younger, but then when we both turned like 26 to 27 I started to show interest about it, and at the same time everybody around us, all our friends got engaged, had wedding, expected their first child, etc. And I mentioned him that I want to get engaged before I turn 30. He never said anything. And I just kept repeating myself and he just kept saying nothing. I felt guilty and bad for mentioning and saying things like this to him because I didn't want to put pressure on him, but at the same time I wanted to know his thoughts and also let him know what I want. We were already saving up for deposit to buy a house, and once he said that after we have the house we want he can buy a nice ring and propose, but right now he doesn't have £5,000 to spend on a ring. I already knew what ring I want, and that doesn't cost that much, and also I would never want him to buy me such an expensive ring anyway. So I told him this, and I sent him the rings I like, and I told him he can choose which one he wants to propose with. I just wanted him to know I don't expect anything expensive, I just want to see that he is serious too, just like me. His answer was that if he wouldn't be serious he would not buy a house with me. This was like 2 years ago. Since that, every holiday we go on, every night out together, every birthday, every family events we go together, I think he'll do it, but nothing. People around us keep questioning him about it and he just says, oh, our plan is to buy a house first and then I can afford a ring, but it's not our plan, just his. But it's awkward for me and it makes me angry because I already told him I don't want expensive ring and I wanted to get engaged before 30. Every time we talk about this we just arguing. He gets offended because I say what I think and what I feel, and then he doesn't really speaks to me for days. I just realized that we don't want the same things from life and it makes me sad. I'm 31 already and I don't want to say yes anymore to him because I feel he just ruined everything. I don't know what to do anymore because I can't have a serious conversation with him about this, and even if I would have one I feel nothing would change. I don't want to propose to him, that's just not me, and he would not want that either. I think the communication between us is very, very bad, and I don't know how to fix it because I know if I mention this he'll not talk to me. I just don't want to wait anymore, and I don't want to say yes anymore. And I hate this feeling. Even when I ask him we just arguing about it. Story: my brother is abusing drugs and breaking the law. I don't know what to do. Hello, I am 23 years old. My brother, 18 years old, was just caught by me and my parents doing hard drugs yesterday right after a cop came to our house to give him a warning because he got caught violating his restraining order by bringing an underage girl into the house. He started acting weird 6 months ago when he met a new friend group. My parents gifted him a car when he turned 18 and he crashed it, making it undrivable. He then started using my mom's car, which he then totaled. And then finally he stole my dad's brand new Tesla in the middle of the night with a bunch of underage kids and his friend Billy. Turns out he's the supplier, and drove it into a tree, totaling it. Since then he was been sneaking people into the house, mostly an underage girl 15 years old who's my dad's best friend's daughter, which he claims he's in love with. The family put a restraining order on my brother so they wouldn't contact each other, but they still do, and he got caught by the cops because she snuck into the house to bring my brother drugs. I discovered this because he left his Snapchat open on his computer after we caught him with the hard drugs. Ever since the first accident I had been begging my parents to give him consequences for his actions, but they continued to ignore my pleas until the final car was smashed. Since then, we have been arming the house with ring cameras, sensors, and alarms. As of now my dad has probably spent almost $1,000 on new security alone. My parents are saying they want to section my brother Section 35 Massachusetts, but I really hope they actually put him in rehab or inpatient. I hope they actually go through with it. My brother was a quiet, sweet, and sensitive person with not a lot of friends before this happened, and now it's like talking to a zombie who won't stop lying. I don't know what to do with myself. I find myself getting angrier and angrier at him, and I feel guilty. He won't stop lying about everything with sometimes a shit-eating grin. Last night he jumped out of an 8-foot window in the middle of the night. I can't get a night's rest without an alarm going off, and am having extreme anxiety and paranoia. I don't know how involved I should be in this. I feel like a parent at times. I don't know how I should be reacting/treating my brother. I want to move out, but I feel bad leaving my little sister 13 years old to deal with this alone, and my dad also has been saying he doesn't want me to. I really do want to leave, but I don't know if it's the right thing to do. My brother is abusing drugs, smashing cars, messing with underage girls, and I don't know what to do. Story: my husband told me he also loves someone else. My husband, Grant, 33 male, and I, 30 female, have been together for 12 years, married 3. We originally were living in my home state, but moved to his after his parents' health started to take a decline. We've been living here for several years now. In that time I met a girl, 26 female, at work about 3 years into us moving, and after bringing her around me, my husband and her were all friends. We had a period where we didn't talk with her for maybe 2 years due to issues in our relationship with how my work was going, and her with a toxic friend group. TBF, we should have stayed and helped her out, but my husband and I were having a tough time barely seeing each other. Eventually we reconnected at the beginning of the year, and we would bring her out of her house to hang out and let her decompress from home life. A few months ago I noticed Grant was a lot more silent than normal, barely texting when we were at work and being somewhat physically distant. I eventually asked him what was wrong, and he said he was going through some mental issues. We both are diagnosed depressed, so I thought it stemmed from that. We made up, but there's still a very subtle hint of tension. When hanging or chatting in person, Grant is reserved, not as much in chat but definitely in person. I noticed in our friend chat he was the one more likely to initiate conversation than when it was just us, and I thought he was just trying to help keep her occupied. He initiated hangouts, which was weird because we were both home buddies. It started to nag at me when we would all hang out, and he would buy things for her too. I'm the one in the friend work group that people go to for advice, so I tend to pick up on things more than others, and about a month ago it sort of dawned on me that there was more than friendship there, at least from him. Recently, Grant was even more in his thoughts, and it was concerning me. I eventually got him to start talking, and at first he was very vague, and kept insisting he loved me. I didn't doubt that, but I had to guess he had feelings for someone, and guess again it was our friend. My heart sank when he acknowledged it, because it seemed like at first he couldn't admit it to himself. He eventually told me that he sort of figured it out when I confronted him about the distance, and had been battling with himself on how to tell me. He did insist he did not love me less, but loves her the same as me. I'll be honest, I'm probably still in shock and I'm not sure how to process. I feel like I should have been mad when he told me, but I can't bring myself to be. I'm not mad at her because she doesn't know. She's also in a relationship of her own and has never really expressed interest in anybody but the person she's with. And I understand people can love differently, and the same for different people. We both just didn't think we would have to deal with this. I'm just not sure how to proceed. This man is the love of my life, and I don't think I can feel the same way I do for him as someone else. Leaving him isn't an option for me. I just need a way to navigate this. Story: I, 18F, don't know what to do of my relationship with my GF, 18F, due to some shady behavior. I, 18 years old, don't know what to do about my relationship with my girlfriend, 18 years old, of some shady behavior. I am 18 years old, recently started dating my best friend, now girlfriend, also 18 years old. Previously, we had been together for around 6 months before going official. I do have to say those months were a little rocky, but eventually we got it together. Anyways, she's been acting strange for a while now, and I don't know what to do about it. When summer break started, I was really scared we wouldn't get to see each other, a lot of family vacation plans, and the fact that we live a bit far away from each other. And it's been like that. I did get to see her about a week and a half ago. We got a call that my grandfather had passed away and we had to cut the vacation early in order to go back to my city for the funeral. I asked her if she could go since I really didn't feel like going alone. She lives in the same city. She kind of ignored the proposition and kept talking about other stuff. I kinda wish she had said something. It doesn't matter if it was a no, I would have just liked to get an answer. The next day, I asked her if she wanted to hang out, and we got together at a mall. The original plan was to get something to eat and spend the afternoon together. When we arrived, she decided to go to the cinema instead, and I agreed. Everything was going fine, but when I asked her at what hour should my parents come to pick me up, she said that as soon as the movie ended, a couple of hours before we had originally planned. I thought she maybe had something to do later, but she said no. I lied and told her they couldn't pick me up until the hour we had agreed on. I did this BC, I wanted to spend as much time as I could with her. She said okay, but I could tell it wasn't a good okay. She tried using as an excuse that I would have to spend time with her mom since she was at the mall, but I said I didn't have a problem with that. We ate with her mom and I engaged a conversation with her, but my girlfriend wasn't. At one point, her mom asked me if I wanted to go on a trip with them to a nearby town, and as I was asking about the dates and stuff, my girlfriend interrupted and said no, she can't go, she's gonna be away from town. Which I mean is true, but it just felt wrong the way she said it. The rest of the date was like this, me talking with her mom, her being silent, and eventually I got home. She didn't even held my hand in the whole day, let alone kiss me or hug me. Every time I tried to, she just kinda separated from me as soon as she could. Ever since, she has barely spoken to me. I ended up retaking the vacation, and prioritized staying in contact with her. But she will take days to respond, and when she does it's quite dry, or just a sticker. I know she's available BC, I can see her active on other apps, and I normally don't have a problem with people taking their time to respond, but I feel like days is a little extreme. I thought maybe she was busy, so I asked her and she responded with not at all. Recently, I was scrolling on TikTok and on my FYP appeared a video she had reposted. Out of curiosity, I went on to check her reposts and it kinda surprised me what I found. She's obsessed with this reggaeton artist and a lot of the reposts were of her. I didn't really care about those. The thing is, a lot of her reposts are about really pretty girls, far more pretty than me, just showing their faces or lip-syncing to a random song. To be honest, I'm very insecure about the way I look, so that's that. But my breaking point was when I found a video of some music lyrics. They said something along the lines of, "Do I really love them, or am I just bored?" and it honestly broke my heart into pieces. I started crying and stuff. I asked her about it and she just said it was her favorite part of the song. After that, I spoke to a friend about how I felt. At first, I didn't want to do so since we're both in the same friend group and I didn't want to start drama, but I just had to share my feelings and concerns with someone. As we were talking, she reminded me of a lot of stuff that I had let slip, but now they seem so relevant I wish I hadn't. Going back a few months when we were first going out, we were not GFS then, the kind of relationship we were perusing was a bit unclear. I have to admit at that time I messed around with other people, but it was only physical, not a single romantic thing. Every time I did I told her, not in a braggy way, I just wanted her to know that I did, and I would rather tell her myself than someone else telling her. One day she told me this actually bothered her, since she was looking for a serious, closed relationship, and she asked me for time off in order to gather her thoughts. I gave it to her, and after a while we decided we both wanted a serious closed relationship, and I've never since done anything with anyone. I feel ashamed of messing around like that. I was going through some stuff, but I know it's not an excuse. After we agreed on that, she started acting a bit shady. She kept her phone close to her at all times. She has one of this screen protectors that doesn't let you see the screen if you're far or at some angles, and every time she picked her phone up, it was clear she placed it at does angles in order for me to not see. When we were watching TikToks or something, she would slide up the notifications really quickly as soon as they popped, and eventually put her phone on sleep mode. One day, a mutual friend told me she was talking with this girl she met on a volleyball match. She plays volleyball, let's call her Val, but she didn't know if she was just casually talking or if it was more than that. Some information you need to know at this point is that she's an asexual, not interested in anything sex-related at all. She's grossed out by it. My friend told me to keep an eye out for Ball, since my girlfriend has cheated in previous relationships. I honestly didn't think much of it, because I trust her or I did at this point. After some days, while hanging with our friend group, she mentioned she was talking with this girl, let's call her Ash. About a year ago, Ash and I had some sort of situationship for a little time, but I ended up leaving because she hurt me a bunch. At that time my girlfriend kinda knew Ash, and they would text a bit. Literally like 2 weeks after Ash and I stopped going out, my girlfriend and Ash kissed, and they had some weird thing where like it was a joke and stuff, but my girlfriend started liking her. Quick reminder, this was about a year ago. Coming back to the conversation with my friends, it made me kinda mad, and really insecure, but I let it slide cause I don't have the right to tell her who she can speak to. A week from this, one of my friends told me I should really do something about it because the way they were talking didn't seem to be in a friend way anymore. That day I had a whole anxiety attack and decided to talk with her about it. In this talk, I told her how I felt insecure and stuff, but I didn't tell her to stop talking to her. I told her if she wanted to keep talking with Ash it was fine, but if at any point she wanted to pursue some relationship with her, I preferred she told me and not cheat on me. She said she wasn't gonna speak to her anymore, but here's some details of the convo I feel are important. Firstly, she told me that one day she went to eat with Val, and that Val brought her flowers. She said something along the lines of she probably did it because my birthday was a week ago and I didn't think much of it. The thing that really bothered me though, my GF jokingly talked of some texts that Ash had sent her. The one that hurt me the most was one where Ash told her blah blah blah, and after that I'm giving you the best kiss of your life. I was like, straight face. So I asked her what had she responded. She told me I told her okay. I mean, she's the type of person that responds okay to absolutely everything, but that just felt out of place. Should I talk to her and tell her how I feel, and if so, what should I tell her? Should I just end things now? Are the things I mentioned something I should keep an eye on? Am I overreacting? Do I keep trusting her? It's just my anxiety overthinking. Am I going insane? So yeah, that's the whole thing. I don't know what to do. I'm worried that she's starting to talk with someone else, or that she's lost interest in me. I don't know if I should confront her. At the same time I feel like I may be overreacting. I know this is some dumb high school drama, but I'd really appreciate if someone shares some advice, or some objective POV. I'm sorry if the post is messy. I tried my best to explain everything. I am 18 years old, recently started dating 18 years old my best friend, and while our relationship had a rocky start, things have been going well until recently. She's been acting distant and uninterested, especially during our recent meetup where she avoided physical contact and cut our time short. She's been slow to respond to my messages despite being active on social media, and her TikTok reposts, particularly one questioning if she really loves me, have made me feel insecure. Additionally, she's been secretive with her phone and had concerning interactions with other girls. I'm unsure if I should talk to her about my feelings and things, or if I'm overreacting. Story, future Fael, 56, keeps putting pressure on me, 32M, and my fiancé, F30, to get married sooner. How do I handle this? To start off, me and my future wife have been together for 3 years and we plan to do a wedding in Greece in 2026. The thing is that I want to save up for the wedding so I can pay for everything. Me and my partner don't agree with the way weddings are done in our country. You go to someone's wedding and give them an envelope with a large amount of cash, and in return they will come to your wedding and give you an envelope of cash when your time will come. I completely hate this way of doing things, which is why I want a wedding in another country with few close friends and with no envelopes or gifts. Now the problem is that it will take me some time to raise the money needed, and here is where problems start to come. My Phil keeps insisting that we should wed earlier and keeps asking my fiancé why are we taking so long. Also, he offered to pay for everything provided that we do the wedding in our own country or if we insist, to help us with the costs of a foreign wedding, to which I refused for several reasons. The first reason is that he always likes to be in control of everything, and by accepting we won't have any say in how the wedding is going to be organized. Secondly, I want to achieve something by myself and offer my partner a memorable experience, and to which I'm 110% sure that my Phil won't agree with some of our mine choices. The latest thing that he has done, and to which I feel has put some tensions between me and my partner, is that he wants to take a trip to Asia, in which he wants to go with his wife and his daughter, but not with me because he stated that we are not married yet and that he would offer or take us on expensive trips if we were to be married. I feel like he is doing this on purpose to exert pressure on me and my partner. Another thing that my partner tends to agree with him and also started putting pressure on me. She usually tends to agree to what her parents say or get caught in the middle between me and them. Also, for more context, I work a decent job in the IT sector and have a good enough income to afford the Greek wedding. The only problem is that we have to wait a bit. And no, I hate the idea of a bank loan. FIL putting pressure on me and my partner to marry earlier than we planned. I want to wait because I want to pay for the entire wedding by myself, since I want to have things in a certain way and won't settle for less or something else. Phil keeps bugging my partner and has recently offered to take her and his wife on an expensive vacation to Asia, but not me since we are not married yet. Story: I feel like my best friend, 21M, is jealous of my GF, 21F, and I don't know if I should keep being friends with him. Hello everyone, I am 21 years old, have a best friend 21 years old, and we have been friends since high school, so for about 5 years. He has gone to a different country, but he still visits pretty often, so we get to see each other every 2 to 3 months. My friend is gay, and I am a straight man. At the same time, I have a girlfriend 21 years old who I have been dating for 3 years. He doesn't really support our relationship because he thinks that since I started dating her we don't really spend time. Which isn't exactly true, but it did play some sort of role. We obviously used to spend more time together when we went to school every day and had nothing to do, versus now what I have a relationship and I live with my GF, and also I have a full-time job which takes most of my day. I never thought that he was jealous of my girlfriend, but lately when I took a deeper look into his behavior, I noticed that he is acting sort of strange. Firstly, he dislikes my girlfriend even though she did nothing to him. In fact, she even baked cinnamon rolls for him once when he came over to our flat. After that, he did not even say thank you to her, which sort of offended me. Secondly, when I told him that I went on a trip for my GF's birthday, he didn't seem happy for me at all. He did not ask me how it was, all he said was that he wanted to go on a trip with me and asked me why I didn't go with him instead. I honestly was surprised by his reaction because I wouldn't have reacted this way to my friend. Thirdly, he often makes remarks about my body and jokingly insinuates that I should break up with my GF. When I confronted him about all of this, he said that he has no problem with my GF, but he thinks that I don't spend enough time with him. I don't know what to think of these, but he is the only friend I have in the city, which makes me feel even more alone. I feel like he doesn't value me as a friend and he has weird motives towards me. My best friend of 5 years is acting strange towards me and my relationship, and seems like he is jealous of my girlfriend. Story: my partner, 20M, and I, 21M, have different values. Should we break up? To get things straight, I respect my partner very much. We meet each other's emotional needs. Our communication is great, and we respect and unconditionally support each other. However, I'm deeply scared because of our radical differences in values. I'll provide brief examples to illustrate these differences. For instance, on family, he deeply values blood ties, while I believe family should be a unit made out of love that one can choose. He believes children must love their parents because they gave them life, while I think parents must earn a child's respect. We both want to have children, but for radically different reasons. He sees children as a way to leave a legacy, and he has expressed that he would pressure his children to have their own children so he can have grandchildren. I see children as an opportunity to learn and develop virtues, and I plan to give full autonomy to my children. I see my legacy through my work and the ideas I pass on to those who look up to me. He also has expressed how we would pass on gender expectations to his children. He would pierce his daughter's ears and dress her in ball gowns. I would fiercely oppose any body modifications without consent and believe in dressing children in comfortable clothes, allowing for play. I would have no issue if my child turns out to be girly, tomboy, or even transgender. Our backgrounds also lead to misunderstandings. I was raised in a wealthy Latin American household by extremely liberal parents, while he was also raised in Latin America, but his family is middle class. My background has pushed me to believe in smart work rather than hard work. As my parents made their wealth from social connections and strategic investment, he believes not in smart work but in hard work from rule following. He was raised to follow the rules and aim for traditional measurements of high achievement. I was raised with complete freedom to be autonomous, with no parental expectations, and with just support for my decisions. My parents even allowed me to homeschool myself with the support of great educators. This led me to an elite school, a 4.0 GPA in CS, and to build my own software company. I want to know how to approach a long-term relationship. On one hand, he recently turned 20, is still figuring things out, and is heavily reliant on his parents. He might grow to at least understand my outlook on life, which he currently respects but doesn't fully comprehend. Despite our love for each other, should I consider breaking up and finding someone who is a better fit? While he is a great partner in college, it would be a deal-breaker if he fails to understand my views, not necessarily share in the long term when we're contemplating marriage and children. For more context, I'm high-functioning autistic, and he is neurotypical. My partner and I currently share different values, which isn't a problem now, but might be in the future. Should we break up if these differences could become significant issues later on? Story: should I let go? I am tired. I have attachment issues and my BF has commitment issues. He also did something that betrayed my trust, and although I decided to forgive him, I am struggling. Hi everybody. I 23 years old VE been dating my boyfriend 27 years old for more than 3 years now. We really love each other and I really do want to marry him someday. I know he feels the same way. But throughout our relationship, we've had many problems that made almost break up many times. At the beginning of the relationship I developed anxiety and starting depending on him too much. We've worked through it and now it's much better, but it's still there. I always want to see him more than he wants to see me. I want out to move together and he doesn't want to yet. I live alone and he still lives with his parents, so he first wants to live alone and is looking for an apartment. I understand his reasons, but I am always feeling like I want more and he wants less, and makes me feel unloved even though I know he adores me. On the other hand, he has commitment issues, started therapy and is getting better, but it always hurts when he hesitates on giving a step forward. But then, when everything started getting better, a friend of mine found him on Tinder once. I talked to him about it and he said he and his friends had downloaded it only one night to look for people for a pregame before a party, which I know is true because he did it before we dated, but I had specifically told him not to do it anymore since it made me feel unrespected. I took this really badly and started having trust issues. We've been working together on it since then, but it's been 6 months and I still don't truly trust him. But I took the decision to forgive him and move on. We've really been doing better and communicating a lot. However, after 3 years and so much trouble and fights, I start to wonder if someday we will be at peace and happy. Don't get me wrong, I am really happy when I am with him and with the life we share. It really is amazing. It feels like Omovai. But when we start arguing or when I feel insecure, my whole world crumbles. I really need some empathy here. Story: I, 20M, cheated on my GF, 20F, of 2 years about a year into our relationship. I honestly never thought I'd cheat on anyone in my life. After my first girlfriend, I never cheated and I plan to keep it that way. Me and my GF both go to college together. I've been dating my current girlfriend since October of 2022, and around August 2023 I cheated on her with a hooker. That night I had just discovered an escort website and I didn't know one existed for my area, not even planning on going to meet one. I started texted them seeing if I could get a response. Just since I was obviously horny and my GF was asleep in her apartment, most were fake, but when I noticed one was real, I fucked up and decided to drive to the motel location she sent. Once I got there not blaming anxiety but freaked out and thought I had to go through with it since I was already there. This woman was much less attractive than my GF and she gave me head and we almost fucked. I didn't want to, she was so unattractive to me, but I ejaculated in the condom the entire time before anything could happen. I left and the entire way home felt like the worst person alive. I got home immediately, showered, threw up, and laid in bed thinking about what to do. At the time I decided the best thing to do would just be to not tell her, as it would just create distrust in a relationship which is very trusting and great right now. I thought I would be able to just forget about it and commit myself to being a better man and never doing anything like that again, and I still stand by that and have tried to improve myself as a person this past year in the relationship and in general. However, anytime I'm alone or not busy, I find myself just non-stop thinking about what I did to her, who the longer I'm with her, the more I love her and feel awful about what I did. I feel like I need to tell her what happened. She's generally understanding, but nothing like this has ever happened between us before. I can't decide to tell her or not still. I could just continue living with it, but I don't know how long I could do that for. I know for myself I'd never do it again, but it's just impossible to prove that to her. Just looking for advice, love her and don't want to lose her, but I don't know what to do. I just want to sit down with her and explain what happened and her forgive me, but I don't know since she's such a large part of my life now. I don't want to lose her. Story: my M29 girlfriend, F29, is continually getting upset at me. I am 29 years old, recently began seeing a girl 27 years old from Mexico. Lately, I dread going out with her because there's always an issue. This week, I added her to my gym membership and yesterday invited her to go work out together. We were supposed to meet outside at around 5:30 p.m., but she didn't arrive until about 6:15 p.m. and since she doesn't have a phone right now, I had to wait outside the entire time. After our workout, I went to change while she finished jogging. She asked if I was going to take a shower because she was, and I said no. I asked if she minded if I waited next door at a bar where my friends work at, assuming she'd be 20 to 30 minutes, but she got annoyed, so I waited outside the changing room for her. After 15 minutes, she came out, and I suggested an Uber to her place. She got mad we weren't going to the bar next door. I explained I thought she'd be longer, which is the only reason I mentioned it, and didn't mind going, but that I couldn't stay late as I needed to be up early. She gave me attitude and was dismissing me, so I just ordered the Uber. At her place, I stayed longer to let her cool down, and we talked outside. She accused me of not wanting to be seen with her and not communicating properly. I explained I never planned to go out after the gym and had told her I wouldn't be able to stay out late. She accused me of lying since it was 10:45 p.m., saying we had time to go out the bar. I told her I stayed to let her cool down and talk and that I originally planned to be home by 9 p.m. because I'm usually asleep by 9 p.m. and wake at 5 a.m. We talked for almost an hour, and when I went to call a taxi, she accused me of always running away whenever we talk. I explained I had to be up early and she insisted she knew that and wasn't trying to keep me. I eventually called the taxi and left, getting home after 12 p.m. and did not fall asleep until after 1 a.m. I don't know what to do anymore. No matter what I do, she finds something to be upset about. Do I just end the relationship? Or is it this salvageable? The following are just a few of the things she's accused me of or gotten upset over. Got upset after our first date because she saw me out with a female friend a week later. Got upset when I invited her to my place to go for a walk in a nearby park to see a lake she said she wanted to visit. Supposedly I wasn't respecting her integrity as a woman and people may get the wrong impression. This was before we were official. Upset that I wasn't picking her up and dropping her off for our dates, even though I don't drive. Didn't hold her hand while walking. I stopped by a bar after work where my friends work, and she accused me of going there to spend time with my ex since she also works there, wasn't working there that night. Got upset when I told her I wish I could run my hand across her body. Supposedly, after 2 months of seeing each other, that's too intimate of a thing to say. Got upset when I indicated that her skin tone was slightly darker than mine, and she accused me of being racist towards South Americans after she was just comparing the fact that I get sunburnt and she doesn't. Walked ahead of her after an outdoor movie where I got bitten over 40 times by mosquitoes. I wanted out of there. My girlfriend is continually getting upset at me and accusing me of things. I really like her, but I'm at my wit's end. Story: the guy that I'm in 24F seeing is starting to act weird and I need help out of this situation. I think I've made a mistake. I have gotten myself into a really bad situation. I was desperate for what I thought was the type of love I needed to feel normal, but now I want absolutely nothing to do with this man or romantic relationships anymore in general. I do not look like an adult. It's genes. My whole family looks way younger than their actual age, with people thinking my mom is my sister sometimes. I look underaged, and have had people guess anywhere between 14 to 18. When I was in Florida about a month ago by myself for vacation, I even had people asking me where my mom was, and the security people in the airport pulled me aside to ask me if I was traveling with anyone. I am not particularly short, but have a very skinny build, ridiculous baby face, and braces, which doesn't help with everything. Nobody can ever guess that I am my real age. I try to hide it most of the time honestly because I'm starting to feel a certain way about getting older. I am not saying this to brag, but it is relevant to what I'm about to explain. Because of how I look, I usually only get hit on by two types of guys. The first group are obvious teenage boys who think I'm their age, and the second is older, usually middle-aged men for whatever reason. There is no in-between. Rarely does any guy my age actually flirt with me, probably because they think I'm younger. This used to really bother me because I am not interested in teenage boys for obvious reasons: age, maturity difference, and because they scare me tbh, and older men who hit on me in that context creep me out. No matter what I did, it wouldn't change. I tried to dress more sexy, but that's not me at all. I don't like dressing sexy and it makes me look awkward. I have a very particular, girly way of dressing that involves a lot of pink and pastel colors. Probably doesn't help, but I can't help what styles I'm attracted to. About 7 months ago, while I was out at the library, a guy approached me while I was sitting at a table reading. He started flirting with me, asking me about what I was reading, and said he thought I was very cute. We ended up exchanging numbers. I admit I was a bit flattered by the attention, and he was cute, so I thought, why not, I'll call him just to see what he's like. He looked to be maybe in his early 30s, which isn't too old for me to date. I called him the next day, and we started hanging out a lot. He took me on dates, and we went on walks, and to other nice places. I found out his age on the fourth date. He is actually in his mid-40s. We didn't label ourselves as anything at first. Despite his age, he was really nice to be around. He didn't demoralize me for my more childlike interests, or way of clothing, or anything. He actually would buy me clothes that matched my aesthetic: stuffed animals, Disney things. Yes, I'm a Disney girl, and called me his baby, little girl. I thought it was just a cute little pet name. I didn't feel weird around him. I actually felt like there was finally someone who understood me. But everything changed when he found out my age about 3 weeks ago. Yes, I never mentioned it, because he never asked, and didn't seem to care. He started making these weird comments about my age. How when I eventually turn 25 everything goes downhill from there. He keeps asking me if I would stay the same for him, his baby girl. He's cold but affectionate at the same time, which confuses me. Now he wants me to do all of these role-playing things, and to call him daddy, which I've never done. I'll be getting my braces off soon. I was really excited about this because I've had them in my mouth for years, but he seemed disappointed, and said that maybe I should prolong my appointments, keep scheduling out, because they're a part of me that he really likes. I am starting to get a weird feeling about him, but I don't want to jump to conclusions. I feel like maybe I want to stop dating hanging around him, but we've been together so much that even when I tell myself not to respond any more to his calls, I always end up calling him anyway. If I don't respond after so many hours, he'll show up to my house, which is bad, because my mom I still live with her knows nothing about him, and I don't want her to find out about him. And even though he makes sometimes hurtful comments about my age, I'm attached to the way he's made me feel. How he's made me feel normal for my other interests, and liked. I have never been in a relationship before, and I thought I wanted one. But I honestly don't want to be bothered by men anymore, at least right now. I feel stuck and torn. I'm sick of being in a tug-of-war between his coldness and affection. I told him yesterday that I needed a break, but he blew up at me. I don't think he'll leave me alone, and I don't know what else to do. I feel like life won't be the same without him, but I also feel so exhausted, and I don't think this is what relationships are supposed to feel like. Is there a way that I could talk to him to make him understand my perspective? I'm thinking maybe we can still be semi-distant friends who occasionally hang out if he stops making comments about my age and my appearance, which is honestly not flattering to be told I look like a little girl. I'm trying not to get my mom or brother involved, who I know will start seeing red and make the situation worse. I am starting to feel weird about the guy I've been seeing dating. He made me feel understood and appreciated at first, but since he found out my age, is starting to act cold toward me, make comments about my weight, and calling me a little girl. I'm trying to cut down contact without things escalating and need some help. I have no experience in relationships. Story: to support my partner or walk away. Me 44 years old and him 47 years old have been dating for over 2 years. The first 14 months we lived in our own houses and saw each other 3 times a week as we lived a 60 minutes drive away. We were really good at planning and making sure we had quality time and great balance, having our own social life and felt included in each other's lives. Life was great. I moved in with him for 7 months, as sold my house and was waiting on my new house to be built. The plan was to lodge at his, suck up the 2-hour round commute to work. If it was good, then he would move into my new house, which was only 20 minutes from each of our workplaces. First 3 months was good, then it wasn't great. We ended up living like roommates. He spent a lot of time in the pub or playing his computer. Slept a lot, was moody, and stopped spend quality time with me and helping with chores. I missed my social life and closeness to friends. I did say he looked depressed, but he denied it. I moved into my house and we split up. We got back together a month later. He said that he was depressed and work stress was high and sought help. Said he was only sleeping 4 hours a night. He couldn't cope, and only way to cope was to shut down. We agreed boundaries and ground rules. It's been 3 months and we are struggling to spend time together more than 2 days a week. He said he is so tired and work is crazy, so we are not doing much and he falls asleep lots. We had plans with friends over weekends, so doing really spend much time there. He said he feels that there is something wrong with him, but will not visit a doctor and is still unable to sleep. Says he doesn't want to be ill. Last night he was supposed to come to mine at normal time. I got dinner ready and texted him. No response. Called, no response. I ate dinner alone. 3 hours later he called and apologized, saying he fell asleep on his sofa and only woke up. I can believe this, as he is exhausted. But I did express how unhappy I was at him, as I feel he is not putting effort in. Just feeling that past patterns are appearing and he will shut me out. He says he is not and is trying, but feels so ill. I have said he needs to go to the doctor, as he had been saying for 4 months. Said if he doesn't go by next week we can't continue, as the overarching theme is him not being well and he needs to take ownership, as I can't cope with this long term. So was I right? His illness, depression, is affecting our relationship. Any advice, as I am supporting and understanding, but he needs to get help to start getting better. Partner is unwell but is not seeking help. It's affecting our relationship and my compassion is going. Story: how to tell if my 25F partner 25M is emotionally or verbally abusive. I am 25 years old and am starting to think that my relationship with 25 years old my boyfriend of about 1 year is not just toxic but abusive. He's always been quick to anger and a little jealous, but recently he's said and done things that are making me question my perceptions of myself and the relationship. I called a female friend recently who I hadn't spoken to in months, and we spoke for about 30 to 40 minutes catching up. He acted weird on the phone call, and afterwards he exploded. He accused me of talking to her about other men and intentionally trying to cover the conversation. He said I locked the door to the bathroom, I was peeing. He said I turned the bedroom fan on so he couldn't hear. We turned the fan on to go to sleep, and it was nearly 10 p.m. He said I left the room to hide the conversation. He was already in bed and I was trying to be respectful because he wakes up 3 hours before me. He refused to listen to my explanation. The next day he apologized profusely over text, which is a pattern in our relationship. Outbursts followed by long apologies the next day. Today, I worked a 10-hour shift while he was at home. I did a 50-hour week as my boss was out sick. I get home and I'm talking to him while opening the fridge and he goes past me and I accidentally shut the door on his hand that has a blister on it. Although his hand was fine, he turns to me and screams, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" in my face. I apologized and said although I was looking, I wasn't really seeing as my brain is fried and I'm tired. He proceeded to go off and then was even angrier when I was upset that he screamed in my face. He refused to apologize for that. That argument then derailed despite me trying to end it multiple times because it was no longer productive. We were just going in loops. I tried to turn and watch TV and he stood in front of the TV. I recorded part of our conversation. We're in a one-party consent state, and in those 2 recordings, he called me a narcissist, a pathological liar, autistic, and an asshole. I want to upload those so people can hear his voice and the context because I'm really feeling insane right now, but I'm unsure if that's against this sub's rules. At one point, he realized I was recording and took my phone and threw it on the floor in the other room. I got up and got it, and he seemed to back off from that once I told him me recording was legal in this state and that if he took my phone again, I would consider myself to be in actual danger and would leave. I've been thinking about leaving him, but it's hard as we live together. Now, I'm worried that I actually need to figure something out and quickly because I'm worried this is going to derail. He claims to love me and that I mean the world to him, but I once told him I wanted to break up and I'll never forget his response: "You deserve whatever I do, honestly." My 25 years old, boyfriend 25 years old, and I fight a lot, but I'm unsure if it's starting to become abusive. Story: I, at 28F, don't know how to mend my relationship with my ex, 33M. Ex 33 years old and I am 28 years old. We're in a long-term relationship that was majorly toxic. Both parties contributed to constant fighting, abusive threats, emotional manipulation, psychological abuse, cheating, etc. throughout the duration of this relationship. Before you write this story off and make the obvious comment that this relationship is unhealthy, just hear me out and put yourself in my shoes. I really love this man and in a lot of ways will always love this man. However, after years of putting up with toxicity and selfishness from him, I had finally had enough. Long story short, we moved out on our own and parted ways, except we never actually stopped talking or seeing each other. We go through phases where everything is wonderful and then I'll find out that he's been looking for new connections on dating apps. When this happens, I tend to wander off and start talking to new people as well. Both of us act like this is unacceptable behavior even though we are not technically in an exclusive relationship. He will tell me how much he loves me and then when we spend time together it seems like all we do is bicker or make jabs at each other. On top of that, there hasn't been any physical intimacy in weeks and he is pushing and pressuring me into it. I feel uncomfortable with this, but he makes a very fair claim that physical intimacy is an important factor for him. It's clear that the correct answer is to break up and go no contact, but for some reason I just can't seem to do it. I clearly love him very much even if I'm not completely emotionally invested in the relationship right now, and we don't seem to be meeting one another's needs. I also don't trust his words because they don't seem to always match his actions. I truly don't know what to do or how to get through this. We have been terrible to one another and I feel this immense guilt in both leaving and staying. My friends and family can't stand him and vice versa. Any advice on how to leave, get over this, or even fix this is encouraged. X and I had a toxic relationship but can't stop seeing each other. He ruined the relationship and I ruined the breakup. I feel like I'm either stuck in a cycle of abuse or that maybe I am the abuser. Story: I, at 28F, have been seeing my ex, 33M, and don't know if I should break it off or try to fix things. Ex, 38 years old, and I am 28 years old, were in a long-term relationship that was majorly toxic. Both parties contributed to constant fighting, abusive threats, emotional manipulation, psychological abuse, cheating, etc. throughout the duration of this relationship. Before you write this story off and make the obvious comment that this relationship is unhealthy, just hear me out and put yourself in my shoes. I really love this man and in a lot of ways will always love this man. However, after years of putting up with toxicity and selfishness from him, I had finally had enough. Long story short, we moved out on our own and parted ways, except we never actually stopped talking or seeing each other. We go through phases where everything is wonderful and then I'll find out that he's been looking for new connections on dating apps. When this happens, I tend to wander off and start talking to new people as well. Both of us act like this is unacceptable behavior even though we are not technically in an exclusive relationship. He will tell me how much he loves me and then when we spend time together it seems like all we do is bicker or make jabs at each other. On top of that, there hasn't been any physical intimacy in weeks and he is pushing and pressuring me into it. I feel uncomfortable with this, but he makes a very fair claim that his physical intimacy is an important factor for him. It's clear that the correct answer is to break up and go no contact, but for some reason I just can't seem to do it. I clearly love him very much even if I'm not completely emotionally invested in the relationship right now, and we don't seem to be meeting one another's needs. I also don't trust his words because they don't seem to always match his actions. I truly don't know what to do or how to get through this. We have been terrible to one another and I feel this immense guilt in both leaving and staying. My friends and family can't stand him and vice versa. Does any of this stand a chance? I feel insane even asking this, but at the end of the day I love this man. Any advice, words of wisdom or commisery is welcomed. X and I had a toxic relationship but can't stop seeing each other. He ruined the relationship and I ruined the breakup. I feel like I'm either stuck in a cycle of abuse or that maybe I am the abuser. Story: my 29F boyfriend, 28M, sexted another girl when we exclusive but not dating. How can I move forward from this? My boyfriend Harry, 28 years old, and I am 29 years old, matched on Hinge in February, met in March, and started dating in May. On our second date, I asked him when was the last time he slept with someone else and he said 2 weeks. I had a friends with benefits Jake and I slept with him the morning I met Harry. I told Harry this because I didn't want to lie about it. Harry was visibly upset when I told him this, and when I told my friends later, they all agreed I should have lied about it. The woman Harry slept with before me was a 40-year-old friends with benefits Melissa that he met in 2023. I'm not sure how often they saw each other, but from how he describes it, he was basically a sugar baby. He cut things off with Melissa when he dated his last ex July 2023 to January 2024, but hooked up with Melissa after breaking up with his ex Nina. The way Harry describes Melissa makes her sound a little crazy. For lack of a better word, she would write him emails, send long texts, and leave voicemails for him. Harry's birthday was last Saturday and we were hanging out with his friends. A little after midnight, he received a phone call but didn't pick up. He said it was his mom who was calling. I thought it was strange that his mom would call him that late and that he didn't pick up. I asked him the next day if he called his mom back yet, but he told me it was Melissa who called him. I became annoyed because Nina, his ex, also texted him happy birthday. Nina still has feelings for Harry and has also been sending him texts throughout our entire relationship. He would either ignore Nina or would give really short responses. I'm not a jealous or insecure type of person, but I became upset because I knew if the situation was reversed, Harry would be upset at me if an ex kept texting me and I didn't block them. Basically, I became upset out of principle, if that makes sense. Because I felt like Harry was being a hypocrite. I thought to myself, why does he expect me to block my previous partners if he hadn't taken the initiative to do the same? So I ended up asking Harry to block both Nina and Melissa. He agreed to do so, but I was still annoyed that I had to ask him to do this, when I had cut things off with Jake willingly the day after I met Harry. While Harry was sleeping, I looked through his phone to make sure he blocked them. I ended up finding texts of Harry sexting Melissa about a month after we met. We technically weren't officially dating at the time, but we were definitely exclusive and had talked about being exclusive. I clearly remember that night he sexted her. I was asleep because I had work the next day, but he went out drinking with his friends and was drunk. His messages said things like, "I want to fuck you right now," and "She want me to fuck you like last time," but when he was sober the next day, he stopped responding to Melissa. In early June, Harry sent 2 messages to Melissa, but it showed up as unsent on his phone. I'm assuming he drunk texted her again, but I'm not sure if he unsent the messages when he was drunk or sober. I confronted him about what I saw. He took full responsibility for what he did and wasn't even mad that I looked through his phone. He explained he had always been insecure and upset at me sleeping with Jake the day we met. I agree that it's weird to sleep with 2 people in the same day, but I slept with Jake before I met Harry. When he texted Melissa in April, he said it was because he was drunk and really upset about the whole Jake situation. He said he has no idea what he sent to Melissa in June or why he texted her, but he's guessing he was upset at me when he was drunk that day. Harry explained that all of his behaviors came from his insecurities and wanting to have a backup plan in case I ever left him for someone better. He said this was the reason he never blocked Melissa, combined with the fact that she would buy him things. He said that although he was texting Melissa those things when he was drunk, he didn't actually mean them. He never texted her when he was sober. Story: mentally drained from family, so problems. I can't take it. How do I make it stop? I am 31 years old, felt like I had a nearly perfect life. And I was always seen as the perfect daughter. Then I met my first boyfriend 30 years old and it felt like he made my life better. And then it went downhill. I'm not sure if I need advice or just moral support, I just feel overwhelmed. I keep having fights with him and my parents in their 60s, and most often than not I am not the initiator, and I hate it because it's like I'm never allowed to have peace anymore. If my isn't picking fights with me, it's my parents picking fights with me about him. I feel helpless, drained, and like I want to cry. I don't know what to do. My heart aches. It's like the only time I'm truly happy now is at work when I'm away from everyone I love. My parents told me they hate him, they can't stand him, they want me to dump him, and they say he's going to ruin my life. It doesn't matter what he does, they find a way to criticize him and remind me of how much they hate him. I've been with him nearly 2 years, is constantly thinking negative about them and has insulted them to my face. We've had big fights over this when he has episodes. And I don't think he likes them much in general anymore. The truth is I love my a lot and he does make me happy, even if my posts don't always reflect it. I love being in his arms. He's my best friend. And I miss him when we're apart. We have fun together and he does try to take care of me. But he has some mental health struggles and that's led to emotional abuse toward me during episodes, and that makes me miserable. It got really bad. Long story, something happened that my parents got involved, and while the situation between me and has since improved, his episodes are less and he's worked to improve. Their relationship with him is strained. My relationship with my parents in turn is not as good as it was because I've stand up for him when I thought my parents were being unfair, just like I've stood up for them when I thought he was being unfair. This is getting to be too much. I feel depressed. I feel drained. Anxious. Everyone is breaking my heart. I want peace. Can it get better? How can I find peace? What can I do? I feel hopeless. My parents and BF don't like each other and they all keep picking fights with me, making me miserable. What can I do to make it stop? Story: my boyfriend, 25M, is not who I, 25F, thought he was. How do I move on from this? I don't even know where to start. I feel like my whole worldview has changed. First of all, I know that every year starts with my boyfriend is the most lovely person. And I thought the same. But just so you don't think I'm completely delusional, every person who has met my boyfriend or heard about some of the stuff he's done for me have loved him. He's usually very attentive, caring, plans nice surprises, emotionally supportive, affectionate, etc., etc. Genuinely felt like a book character written by a woman. My mom loves him too. It all started when he got demotivated and then very depressed because he wasn't doing well in his career. I was worried about him and our future TBH, so I was encouraging him to apply to jobs etc., to which he said he would, but still have very little motivation. Anyways, long story short is I was constantly reminding him and asking if he's been applying, and I guess he got stressed out because he basically lied to me and said he was applying to stuff when he didn't. He lied about this a few times over a couple of weeks. He knows it's wrong, so he's not justifying it, but he explained in his brain he thought by not disappointing me and saying he already did something would give him motivation to actually do it. Anyways, I thought this was very out of character, so I decided to forgive after a bit of arguing etc., but in the back of my head I felt like something was off and I couldn't trust him, so I dug through his phone, which for the past 10 years I've had access to. He shared all his pins and passwords to me. While digging, I found a conversation this happened 6 years ago with a friend who was a girl. They discussed some sexual stuff, not sexting, but more like I like this, and later things like, I would like to do this with my GF, or we're both switches. But she also divulges quite a lot of sexual stories. He doesn't react a lot to them. She goes, I've shared a lot of secrets, now it's your turn. And he shares that when he was young, way before he met me, he experienced a hand job from another guy. I've literally never heard this story and I just feel very betrayed. I've had chats like these with female friends and gay guys, but I don't think it's ever something I've shared with a straight guy friend 1:1. I get that he made the existence of me very plain, but just feels odd. I feel like boundaries were completely crossed in telling other people things that I don't know. Feels like emotional cheating. Anyway, I'm going to confront him and very likely leave. But I just want perspectives. Or like advice from people that have had something similar happen to them. I know it's 6 years ago, but I feel like I don't know him anymore. I'm so perplexed because this doesn't match with the person I thought I knew. At all shy, reserved, very loving, telling me he misses me every day, writes love letters, gets giddy when seeing me kind of person. How can you fake being so in love for the last 10 years? Any pearls of wisdom very greatly appreciated. Boyfriend of 10 years spoke about sexual topics not on a sexting way with a female friend. And spoke about a sexual encounter from before he met me that I didn't know about. I'm likely going to leave, but how do I deal with this? Any other perspectives? Bye and see you again in the next videos and stories.